Hello out there, and welcome to me, Shannon Stott, your host of the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth event presented to you by the PEACES Collective. This is our end of year celebration, and to those of you who have been here for each and every single one, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate you really diving in with us and talking about things from owning land to making crafts. We really are supporting our community, and you are part of our community. We are going to talk about lots of different things today, and we have the people to be talking to. We have Ikrama Muhammad. Ikrama is the owner and the creative director of PEACES Collective, a local handcraft, accessory, and home decor company whose goal is to create sustainable markets and systems for handmade and recycled goods. The PEACES Collective is committed to using creativity to help serve the needs of the community and contribute to the economic, social, and human development of women and youth and young adults. Thank you very much for being here, Ikrama.
Thank you, Shannon, for being here. Appreciate you.
Well, really, you need to be here. And we have Karen Freeman, who is here. Karen Freeman is the board member on the board of the PEACES Collective and the owner of Carefree Travel. As an independent travel consultant, she provides personalized travel advice and assistance to busy people who want to leave their vacation details to an expert. Karen is also obviously a board member of two nonprofit organizations focused on education and cooperative economics for the African American community. Thank you, Karen, for being here.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you.
How are you both this evening?
Good. Karen, I love your wrap. It looks beautiful. I do.
Thank you.
And Shannon, I love your kimono.
You know, we're doing things today. I shopped local. I came to visit you all in Maryland and got this at basically PEACES Collective. It was lovely.
That's what it's all about.
I think so. So we're here to just really talk about the things that brought us to this point. PEACES Collective did a lot this year. And so we have we're taking like a tour de France, a little tour through a lot of the different things. And we're starting with shop local. And yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, that was a really big step. That was an opportunity for us to have our products at a brick and mortar. But before I go into that, I want to do this first before we get into all types of conversations and then we forget. And then after we get up, it's like, oh, I meant to. But first, I really wanted to thank you, Shannon, for being here with us each time, for being the heart and soul and the glue that keeps everything together. We get so many compliments and so much love for you comes in from these events. And I wanted to thank you and Yinka, Triple Pocket Events, and Camry as well. And of course, Petra from Patterns for Passion. So, the PEACES Collective is about building community, and you are part of the community that we're building, and how we could not build more community or expand our community without your help, because wisdom, wellness, and wealth is one of the tools that we use to do that and get information out, gather people together. So thank you. Just wanted to say thanks.
That is a
So
very big deal. Thank you very much.
yeah. So moving on, the beginning of 2024, we had the opportunity to work with the Maryland Women Business Center with the Shop Local program. And it was really two of our makers were part of the Shop Local. The PEACES Collective, of course, is a nonprofit organization. And our mission is to help support makers, et cetera. And two of our makers, Pieces and Threads, which is my company, and Queen's Temple Handmade, which you can also find on our website, were part of the Shop Local program. And we started out at a beautiful location at the Third with Shannon. I think you had a chance to visit when you were here. It was wonderful in Columbia, down by the lake. It's just gorgeous. And we were there for 6 months. And after that closed, we transferred to Savage Mill, which is a quaint little mall in Savage, Maryland, that focuses a lot on handcrafted businesses. They have the antique shop is there. They have pottery. You can go there and learn how to make pottery, beading. Bless you, beading. So many different creative things, and we're there at a kiosk. Rochelle and I are there at the kiosk with 3 other small women businesses. 2 sisters are from Colombia, South America, Lucia and Gina, and they both hand make beautiful things. And then the other, Emily, is from the United States here in Maryland, and she does beautiful glass work. So we were able to show our products and build some awareness about handcrafted items. And we're very grateful to the Maryland Women's Business Center, the Third in Savage Mill, for the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, there is a lot of collaboration that goes on between you all, Pieces Collective, and different makers. And yes, to people coming onto this particular program and sharing, but you're doing so much in the IRL, as the kids are saying, in real life out there in the world.
Oh, is that what that is?
They're saying in real life.
In.
The kids are saying it.
I like that.
But you're collaborating, you're educating, and this is the thing about community. We're not just in one space. We really have to take our businesses and collaborate in community. This is how we expand.
Mm-hmm. And now more than ever, community is very important. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have sensed a shift in things, not just politically and economically, but also mentally and spiritually. There's a shift, and people are beginning to look at how to reach out, how to connect, how to put things on the right course, and realizing that some things have to change. Most things have to change. And we've always, our measure for that has always been community. I mean, as they say, no man is an island. So they also say it takes a village. So it's important that we begin to have conversations with each other that question things that are happening, looking at the why, also looking at how we want things to be, or think things should be. What is our basis for, or the values that we have? How do we put those in place so that we can build a community that is good for us all.
I wonder if you and Karen would just, before we just jump through all the things that we have to jump through, but is there a mentality? You were talking about shift, and when you all started Pieces Collective, I wonder what the shift has been in the mentality. Okay, what are we building here for the community versus what the mentality is now? What has the community shown you that it needs that you're providing?
Well, for me, it's pretty much a confirmation of what the community has always needed. The Pieces Collective as an organization is a vehicle for education and self-development. It's an opportunity for us to come together and learn. I think I've said this before, but learn what it takes to put in place and implement the systems and structures that will give us the types of community that we want. Safe communities, how to provide for ourselves the basic necessities like food, clothing, shelter. These are things that we know we need and we talk about all the time, but we're still dependent on outside sources to get those things. That's why we have what they label as food deserts, or that's why our school systems are in urban, so-called urban areas, suffer such decline. And so we're having, there's a disconnect between what we say we want and what it takes to make that happen, and then getting that outcome. And so the Pieces Collective, which I learned this from when I volunteered with an organization prior to the Pieces Collective called Action, and that it really takes new knowledge and experience to be able to bring about a new environment. That sounds, elementary, but if we look at how we're still struggling with the same issues, it's not so elementary. What is the difference? I mean, what is the missing piece? And it's knowledge and experience. Minister Farrakhan has a quote that says, it's actually a course called Self-Improvement is the basis for community development. And when you hear that, that makes sense. The key is how much time do we spend discussing and talking about improvement of self in order to build community versus maybe what we think someone else should be doing for us to help us build community. So it's the Pieces Collective, again, is a vehicle for us to come together. And of course, just a small part we've chosen over the years of working with different things. We've selected right now to focus on reading, literacy, and making, because we see those two things are instrumental in helping us begin to think creatively, and they also require a tangible outcome so that we can measure ourselves and our progress. So for me, I think it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity for self-development. As we're going through these things, even as we're going through production of Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth, we're learning things that we need to improve on. We're learning things that we need to take a look at self and say, oh, you know what, I could do better at that. And doing it not just for our own personal or selfish reasons, but doing it to contribute to something that's going to be good for the whole. So it's really moving from the I mindset. And this is what, to go back to answer your question, what I see is more prevalent and pressing now is going from that I mindset to a we mindset. And, that's going to be super important in terms of our survival.
What I was going to say is, not so much that we've changed because it's in our name, collective, is that mindset that we need now more than ever, that collective effort to address some of these issues. As the Pieces Collective, we deal with a lot of partners, like you said, a lot of them are solo entrepreneurs. Solo entrepreneurship is very challenging and very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And the infrastructure is often not there for the solo entrepreneur. So again, why are you a solo entrepreneur? Why aren't you finding someone else who has a like mind or like interest to help get that synergy, get that economies of scale, and get that business to be a more productive and stable business? So that's one thing that I'm seeing. The other thing I think is, what is it, when you speak about the leadership, what is it that you want to do or willing to do? As Carmen said, we're very good at looking at what other people could be doing. But when you look at the problems that we're facing, what is it that you want to do, and what is it that you're willing to do? What kind of actions are you going to take? How are you going to improve yourself and get yourself ready to take those actions that you see need to be done? And I think a lot of that you can learn at the Pieces Collective, because there's a lot of opportunity for taking some action, and you have to prepare yourself. So to me, it's those kinds of mindset shifts of just how do you work with others to achieve a goal or to improve the community, whatever your goal is. How do you work with others to do that? Because collective is the only way you're going to get it done. Collectively is the only way you're going to get it done.
Yeah. And then another big question behind that is why? Why are you doing it? What's your motive and purpose? What are the values that you're aligning with to get these things done? And taking a look at why we haven't made sufficient progress up to this point, and why some people think that we have made sufficient progress up to this point. That's two different perspectives and outlook on things that can slow the overall progress down. Not that you're going to get everybody to agree, but I think certainly we have evidence and experience to know that some of these things we struggle with, whether it be poverty, education, crime, the list goes on and on, right, are consistent over time. So to be intelligent about it, you would have to say you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So you have to examine why we do things the way we do them. How were we taught that? What is the mindset behind that? Because I think if you go back to looking at the history of enslaved people, I guess it could be twofold too. One is that it's survival of the fittest, so to speak, or you're kind of on your own. You're not encouraged to come together and be collective and work collectively. You're not because your identity is stolen and you don't have the same values or motive and purpose for yourself. You're reliant on the other, whoever's oppressing you, their values. So I think that gets passed down, and they talk about epigenetics, which is something that, you know, I've learned about over the years, which at first you don't know that that's a real thing, but listening to the scientists and the medical profession now, it one sister had mentioned it's been canonized. It's a thing, right? So traumas and those things that have been can be passed down through generation after generation, and we have to acknowledge that and look at the traumas that we've faced as a people and strive to heal and change and grow into a new way of thinking that supports us.
As you're talking, as both of you are talking about what's in the name, the working as a collective, PEACES Collective, I feel like this is a perfect segue into the Happy Maker Hour and what that was about. How did it come about? Tell us about it, and just weave in that connectivity. Why is it important that people are coming together?
Well, you know, some of the things that we've talked about up until this point have been very sobering, you know, and there's parts in our history that are very sobering and trying, and we're under a lot of pressure and trauma, etc. And so I had always thought about how much joy that I get from creating, from sewing. And in the classes that I teach, the atmosphere and the environment in those classes was so joyful. People really felt like it was therapeutic, it was relaxing, it was, you know, sisters coming together to work together. And people really look forward to it. So I wanted to do something like that with the PEACES Collective. And Kiana Green, who was a volunteer and on the board at one point, she had that same kind of idea. So we were talking one day and she was like, yeah, I'd like to see, you know, have an environment where people could just come together and just create and work on things and we could talk. And I was like, I have just the name for that program, Happy Maker Hour. And so we just started scheduling those and inviting people in to come and lead them. I think that at first we were just going to get together and we got together and we would bring some fabrics and different crafts and have people do their own thing. And then it began to be more like, well, let's invite people in who have a certain expertise to come and teach on some things. And we had some very wonderful sessions. And I have to thank like Mary Douthit, who is such a creative artist in textiles. And she came and she did a session using fabrics to cover plates, like charger plates with beautiful African fabrics. They're gorgeous. So everybody enjoyed doing that. We've had Dr. Badal come do a blooms and beauty to teach us how to do a floral arrangement, which is very interesting because, you know, and this is the thing about creativity. Unless you tap into yours and are willing to take the risk to get involved, you may think, well, I'm not creative or I could never do something like that, you know. But she showed us step by step how just to set up the vase and put each flower in. And in the end, we watched, you know, this beautiful thing happen. And then we were able to do our own. So that's part of the beauty of that. And we had we had our wrap and chat where a Coast Regal, we did a head wrapping session, which was always a lot of fun. That's always one of our most fun events. And several other things that we did. Karen, you remember some of them? We did sugar scrub, foaming sugar scrub. Rochelle did.
That was the one I remember, was the foaming sugar scrub. Because I love body scrub. So we got to make our own. body
Yeah.
scrub.
Yeah. So the Happy Maker Hour is a moment for us to come together under, different circumstances, just to relax, have fun, create something beautiful, and see the power of what we can create. And then during that is also conversation about community, conversation about learning, and uniting. So that's the purpose of that, to really connect with other people.
There's a power of education that happens in those circles that I think we don't, at least in this day and age, don't seem to give credit to. The idea that we can learn from each other in social settings like that, where yes, we're gathered together maybe to create a floral arrangement, but at the same time we're checking in on each other's health, we're sharing that type of wisdom with each other. And it seems like that those concepts and those ideas are also very important in these Happy Maker hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to say something, Karen, before I jump in? Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been thinking about this for some time now in terms of what is education, and again, getting to the root of, our problem or our disconnect from being able to make the changes in our community that we would like to make. And it stems from education is a key component. I'll just say that, right? We've been taught that education is something that you get in a building with 30 other people in the room, and it's very regimented, and you have the teacher at the head, and the teacher tells you things and write things on the board, and you memorize that, and then you're educated. If you take that test and you pass that test, then you're educated, and then you get, as you go further along, if you get a degree, then you're really educated, and it continues on like that. But now we're finding more and more that from people doing research that's not really education. That's really a training to help perpetuate a system. And if you study the history, which I have to do more of, the history of the public education system, you'll see why that was brought about and for what purposes it was brought about. And then when you look at the condition of the education system in areas where there are Black people or poor people, you will see that it's not really working at all. So really what it is a system to separate people, shift people into classes, not classrooms, but classes of people, and into different areas. Some of you are going to have to be at the lower level and work in the so-called underworld or on the corners, etc., which also fuels the economy. Some of you will be the blue collar workers, some of you will be the white collar workers, and some of you will be, the bosses, etc. So it's just really an identifying system that's made. So going back to something like Happy Maker Hour or gardening or anything of that nature, that's where education is. Education is in the doing. Education is in being able to sustain your own life, solve your own problems. I mean, if you can't solve your own problems, then how can you be educated? And what are you educated for? right? So these are the things that we have to consider as we're building this new community and new mindset to take care of ourselves and to build a better environment for ourselves and other people who want that. Because this education system has failed us.
You're taking us right into the next thing, which is the wisdom, wellness, and wealth events. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you say this education has failed us, really what pops directly into my mind is the discussions we've had around money and the discussions we've had about around land ownership. And I think when I have heard the amazing people that have been on this program talk about, hey, you don't have to think about money the way you think about it. The way you think about money is a particular way that you've been taught, so that serves other people. The same with land. The way you think you either shouldn't or should buy land, the way you're doing it, you should rethink it because it's been taught to you by people who benefit from teaching it to you that way. And when you're talking about, oh, the education system has failed us, yes, the reason we are doing wisdom, wellness, and wealth events is, go ahead, now you take it.
Right. So the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth program is just that, a program on those areas for the community. As Akrama was saying, you know, our education system has its own agenda and its own purpose, and mainly looking for people who can take instruction and persevere and, you know, keep progressing. You know that they'll be resilient enough to benefit you if you were to hire them. But our program is to bring different topics to the community. As you said, Shannon, you know, there's topics around wisdom, about learning our history and using that history to help us prepare for the future and do things in the future, not just waxing poetically about it, but actually using it, about setting goals and intention for ourselves as a community. There are sessions on there about physical wellness and mental wellness as well. And then wealth, that you mentioned, land ownership, financial literacy, those kinds of things are all brought up in this program. And we bring it to you the third Wednesday of every month. And if you go to our YouTube page, you will find our sessions on these different topics. But we thought it was important to engage with the community, to have a different perspective and a different voice around these areas that would really speak to the needs of our community. And so we've been doing that program now for, I don't know how long, maybe 3 years. We went through the pandemic, so maybe more, right?
Yeah, and we did it. Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth was one of the first programs that we
Oh,
did when we had the pop-up.
Right,
we had live Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth meetings at the pop-up that we had. So that was 2018.
Wow,
so,
is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Even myself as director, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
That's been a long time that we've been doing that. Yeah, we did it in brick and mortar, and then with the pandemic, we went online, and we've been online ever since doing it. But there's a wealth of information, plenty of experts from different fields, people who are actually doing the work that you might want to be engaged in. So really check out our programming on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and it's really important that we start to wake up, you know, as they don't want us to be woke, but it's time that we have to wake up, you know. And you have to question that as well. How come you don't want people to be woke? Why are you
They
so
want you to be asleep?
You want people to stay asleep,
right?
And where you can use them and keep guiding them, you know, by the nose. But we have pressing issues, life-threatening issues that are happening in our community and have been. And then just because some of us, quote unquote, are doing well, and that's there to distract us from those problems, that's no excuse for us not waking up and really addressing the things that we need to address. What we'll probably talk about later in terms of the literacy of our children, where only 16% of Black fourth grade public school children can read at proficient levels. And all the studies that say that if they're not reading at proficient levels by the third grade, it's not likely that they're going to catch up. And so, as we were talking about the education system and the system in general, sorting people out to where they're going to be, 84% of our children, if it proves true, are going to be where they're going to be if they can't read. Where they're going to be sifted to. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. So, those are the kind of things that we want to look at. The purpose of an adult person in the community, in the family, is to start laying out the future for those that come after. Laying out the future for the children. How often do we think about our children's future other than we want them to get a good job? We want them to go to school, get a good education so they can get a good job, so they can get a nice house, so that they can whatever. It's all about, individuality and materialism are the things that are killing us. They're the things that are killing us and destroying our community. At the same time, they're the things that we embrace the most. So there has to be a shift.
They are the highest American values.
Absolutely.
Right? Individuality is a very big value. It's only applied to one particular group, because individuality doesn't count for other groups, but it is a high value that all people who are in America aspire to. And materialism, which is capitalism, is number one.
Mm-hmm.
But they always want you to focus on individuality.
Right. Whereas they are not focused on individuality.
No, because they never see anybody else as an individual, right? They see you as you meet the description for a whole group.
Right. And also, they're working together. They're working collectively to maintain their value system and their power, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So,
only certain people get judged as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think
this
is a very serious conversation we're having for a year-end celebration.
Well, it is. To talk about
look at what's happening this year-end, and then I think it's appropriate.
Yes. Here's where we're not even veering, because we always, if you go back into all of the things that we talk about, into all of the programming that Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth has done, it doesn't matter if we're talking about food, it doesn't matter if we're talking about growing things, painting, all of the things that we're talking about surround these topics so that we can wake up, right? Mm-hmm. You both were talking about society, the things that are killing us. And for me, I'm going to move us into the way that you all are, at least one way. There's many ways that you are combating the things that are killing us. But as far as our bodies go, you do this Juneteenth 5K walk.
Yes. We've been doing that for 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
4 years. So next year will be the 5th year. And we were inspired to do that by Sister Charlene Muhammad. Actually, even before that, like you said, it takes a village. So wherever you see things and get inspiration, and then you go and do your work with it. It's a beautiful thing. But I've always been inspired by Girl Trek, which is their national group, but they started here locally with two sisters who, one loved hiking and the other one, walking. And they set out to be an influence for Black women to get healthier. When they looked at the statistics, they started similar to how we started with Spread the Word, looking at reading about the condition and saying, wait a minute, this is crazy. And knowing that women influence each other, they decided that they wanted to get a million women to walk. I think it's 30 minutes a day, or to sign up to Girl Trek, which they did accomplish that goal. And so I was very inspired by them. And then we did a walk in Baltimore with, I think it's called, was it Black Girls? Oh, we did the Charm City walk in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm on mute. Yeah,
Yeah.
Black Girls Run was one of the big groups that was there, but it was the
Right.
Charm City Walk. Yeah.
So we all registered and joined, paid the fees and everything to join their walk. And then when we were talking about doing it the next year, Sister Charlene said, well, why don't we do our own walk? And that way we can, build our own community and promote health and wellness among the people that we know and our loved ones. And then we could raise money to do programs that we want to do versus paying the money out somewhere else. And so that's what we did. And we do have a training time for it. And Sister Charlene has laid out specific things to do each week, to, even if you've never done a 5K before, if you follow this plan, by the time Juneteenth rolls around, you'll be fit and in shape to do a 5K. So much thanks to her on that. And because that's another thing, again, that the answers are really in our hands. Even though we lead in all of the illnesses and the comorbidities, between high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, all of these things we lead in, but the solutions we have. But if we're looking outside of ourselves and we're not looking back at our history, which has been discouraged, right? But the answers are there. So if we're not looking back at that, then we're going by, okay, well, you can get, I can't remember the name of all these pills and drugs and this, that, and the other. Every solution to your problem is a pill versus, okay, I just need to walk 30 minutes a day. And while I'm walking, in addition to burning calories, I could also be enjoying nature, or I could be having some peace of mind, walking and having time to think about things rather than being stimulated by all of these outside noises, TV, text, phone, all that kind of thing. So, it's really multi-beneficial. And it's something that is free. You don't have to join a club. You don't have to really get a trainer. And I'm not saying those things are not good if you can and you can afford to, etc. But you just call a girlfriend up. We do a walk every Sunday, a 5K every Sunday. And we just call each other up and go out and walk. So
I encourage people to go back. You've already done this, but I'm Karen, but encouraging people to go back through the library of the wisdom, wellness, and wealth events that are online on the YouTube channel, because Sister Charlene really, and there are a couple of other people, but really take us through yoga
Mhm.
and exercise. And there are some exercise videos in there. There's talks about how to get your heart rate up, how to get it down, how to combat the things that are killing us in ways that you don't have to shell out money, right? And
Right.
yeah, the benefits of being outdoors, the benefits of growing our own food, all of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you are going to shell out money to buy her book, Yoga in the Black Community, because
Yes.
it is a marvelous book that combines history. She's the co-author, the co-author of it as well. Um, with Marilyn Pepper Citizen or Citizen Pepper. I don't. It's got a hyphenated last name, but her name is Marilyn. Beautiful, another beautiful sister who is an expert in yoga practice.
Mm.
And the book is so full of information, history, uh, spirit. It's just a great book to have, even if you don't do yoga. If you
Mm.
just want to learn more about our history and our health, if you're interested, which everybody should be interested in our health, it's a must to have in your library. Yoga in the Black Community.
Speaking of books, let's talk about Spread the Word.
Let's talk about it. Okay. So the Spread the Word program is our literacy program. And Akrama had mentioned before some of the statistics, but I'm just going to go over a few because I was shocked. And I think people, when they hear it, they're shocked, but I still don't think it really seeps in terms of what does this mean for the future. So only 34%, 34% of all public school students can read proficiently in the 4th grade. That's all public school students, everybody in the public school. When you single out Black students, it's down to only 16%, right? Which is very low, very bad. When you hear that, I just want people to sit with it for a minute. What do you think that means? I think most people think, I don't have that kind of experience. My children can read, my friends' children can read. They're not really thinking they have that experience. Those statistics don't change much over time. So the 8th grade testing and the 12th grade testing, they're still at the same levels. So this means that if they're still there in the 12th grade, because you get a lot of dropouts because of this, right? So this impacts the community. It impacts the individual because it impacts their self-esteem, their ability to learn, etc. It impacts their behavior in school, acting out or just trying to hide what they can't do by doing something else that they probably don't need to be doing. Impacts the community with, lower skill sets in the community, poverty, etc. Even worse health outcomes, as we were just talking about. It impacts the country, because you get to be less competitive as a nation if you don't have a literate population that can learn new skills, that can be competitive against other countries with new technologies and new things coming on board. So it's not just, those poor little children, it's too bad that they don't know how to read. It's a connected chain of events that will happen because of this. And I shouldn't have been surprised, but I went and looked at adult literacy. And when you look at real adult literacy in the United States, only 34% of adults are what they would call truly functionally literate, meaning you can read text and analyze texts and come to a conclusion or make an assertion or assessment based on that text. It's still only 34%. So that just carries through all the way, making people, as I said, more susceptible to propaganda and misinformation, because you cannot analyze things, right, properly. You don't know how to apply logic and cause and effect and all of those things to text and information. So it's just pretty shocking when you dig into it. So one of the things that we learned also with this is that students who have books in their home are much better, do much better with reading. They develop a love for reading. They do better in school and have higher achievements around that. And of course, reading affects everything in school. It's not just the English class. You have to read your math problems. You have to read your science texts, right? You have to be able to read things and follow instructions that someone may give you in the school itself. And they'll say you're misbehaving, but no, you just couldn't read the signs or whatever. So our program develops home libraries of 10 books, age appropriate, also with diverse images, because very few images of Black people or Hispanic people are used in children's books when you look at the total number of books. But we have diverse images that will appeal to the children, that we create these libraries for our partners, which are the Head Start program in Baltimore at St. Vincent de Paul. And there are also family child care centers that we partner with to create these libraries. And we even partnered with a school that's reopening in the country of Jamaica. We didn't do individual libraries for the students, but we did a library for the school, for the elementary school that's opening there that had been closed since the pandemic. So that's what that program is about. And I think people, regardless of your walk of life, should be very concerned about this, because it is going to impact the whole nation. I even heard something, or read something actually, that they're looking at having workplaces where reading is not necessary, where they would sort of computerize the workflows and make the instructions intuitive, like on your phone. You know how you get your phone now, they hardly give you any instruction. It's like, here, get the app, just do it. You should know, read it, you should know what to do. They're trying to do that more in the workplace. And I think it's in preparation because they know people are not going to be able to read. And they have very short attention spans now that they have these devices. But, they don't want to read a manual or about how to do this work. So it's interesting. And they also take that same data, as Kwame may mention this, or I don't know, and decide how many prison cells they need based on this data. Mm-hmm. So they project based on how many people are illiterate, how many people are going to go down the wrong path or be sucked into a life of crime, and therefore be targeted for that and put in jail, so they can project the building of prisons and the operations for prisons, all based on literacy. So it's a big problem. It's something that we can all do something about. We can all contribute in one way or another. So for Spread the Word, we have the home libraries. We have community libraries that we set up in barbershops and beauty salons and gyms. We just donate the books, have a library when people are there, whether they're children, young adults, or adults. We have books there that they can hopefully engage in. And then we do events like with the Head Start. They have a science night. They're going to have a math night. They have a basically English night or reading night where we will join them and set up a table and give books to the children on that topic. And at the end of the year, we'll be giving all their graduates from kindergarten into the first grade home libraries as well.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
Yay, right.
One
Celebration.
Right, celebration. One thing I wanted to also celebrate is that when you're there with the young people, these young people and their parents are there, because a lot of times there's, you know, the parents are talked bad about, or they say the fathers aren't involved. But at each of our locations, I think both the mother and father of the children came to the science night and were very interested in the books and wanted to make sure that their children got books. Many of the fathers mentioned how they'd love to read to their children. So one even asked me, can I get another book? Because I like reading to my son. So our people want better. It's just that Dr. Amos Wilson said the world is created through consciousness. So we just don't have the consciousness. The consciousness was stolen from us about how to create the world that we want. And that's part of what we are striving to do, even internally. We are victims of it as well. So people in the Pieces Collective, it's not like, okay, well, we've solved the problem, blah, blah, blah. It's our opportunity as well to help elevate our consciousness and see what the issues are and how correct the fault of our thinking that leads us to this place. So we can't count on the nation, so to speak, to the threat of literacy to the nation to be a motivator for those outside of our community to act, because it's obviously that they don't care. I mean, the facts are the facts right now, and I hear very, very little about it, you know, from any Department of Education or government system or even on the news. And what we do know is that they can dominate and run a system with nobody being able to read except the elite, because they've already done that. And it looks like that's where they want to go back to. So have I said too much? No. but that's kind of where they want to, we know that they can do that and would be willing to do that. So we have to take control of our own destiny, and we have to learn critical thinking, cause and effect, you know. And I think that's a key component, because that's one of the reasons why I don't think we're moving at the rate and the pace we should be moving when we hear about all of these things. We don't understand about the effect, that things don't just happen out of thin air. You know, systems aren't just magically brought down to earth and then they tell us the rules and we live in. No, people make these things up and they set things in motion, and they're planning 20, 30 years in advance, you know. And then we're just like, when the outcome is here, we're like, oh, how could that happen? You know, because we're not informed or aware, or even, I don't think we have the power. We don't think we have the power to be responsible for that, to be responsible for ourselves. So we're relying on some outside institution or mystery or something to take care of these things. And we don't really even give it the kind of thought that it needs. So that's one of the things that we need to wake up to.
You're doing the work. You're doing it. You're doing it right here. Pieces Collective, wisdom, wellness, and wealth events is helping at least. The thing that comes to mind, or the thought that comes to mind, is the surprise. How could that person think that? Or how could they think that that particular thing is going to help them? Or how could they believe? How could a person believe that particular thing? And we like to say, oh, they're miseducated, or maybe we like to lean on that. But to hear Karen talk, to hear Akrama, the both of you speak, this idea of, well, if you can't read and the system is set so no one is encouraging you to read because they're going to say it's fine if you can't, then all of the things that we're talking about, these 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, when things are around us and we look around and we wonder, wow, how did that happen? We can think to ourselves, you know what? I really should have bought in to spread the word. That's what we can think to ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, because when you see what they're doing with education and banning books and taking things out, I mean, the information will still be in books.
Sure.
But if you can't read, then they have just shifted you over to this belief system. Whatever it is they told you that you heard is now the belief system.
Right.
Right. So, and they've already done that for, centuries already, but now it's just getting worse. Right. So we're taking the information out. We're not even going to tell you, and you can't read. So, you can only imagine their plan for 20 years.
It's connected. It's all connected, right? The consciousness of it, because the libraries are full of books with all this information, scholarly information from all walks of life. The library is full of books. And there are people who can read who have not really interested. You know what I'm saying? We know people who are intelligent, quote unquote, not that reading is a measure of intelligence, but we know people who we know can read, we know have access to books, we know, they travel all around the world, the so-called educated class intellectuals, they've read a lot of the books, but the consciousness and the ability to connect the dots is missing. Because I heard somebody say that this system makes everything an industry, right? Poverty is an industry. They make money off of everything. Illiteracy is an industry. Everything that you make money off everything.
Jails,
jails, everything is an industry and a way to make money. And for us, our part and money, as we said earlier, is so critical in this society as a carrot for people. That's what they're interested in. If you, as who is it said, if it don't make money, it don't make sense.
Your favorite philosopher, is that 50 Cent?
50 Cent. He's not my favorite, but he's the one who said it.
That was a joke.
I know. I do have a favorite philosopher. Tupac is a favorite philosopher. No, but anyway, our focus is on money, and they've steered us in this direction because we don't have a real identity of self, of who we are, of how important we are, of how powerful we are. So the only way we can feel powerful is by making a lot of money or being a star and being well known within this system. And then that's the pattern that young people follow. But we have to shift that. We have to change that, because I'm thinking, my grandchildren and stuff, we don't even know as adults, we don't even know how our bodies work. We don't know anything, the science of, we learn these things maybe in elementary school and high school and stuff, to take a test, to get the marks, to graduate, and then forget about it, right? That's how they can give us all this misinformation about health and, pump all these drugs and all that kind of stuff, because we don't even know how our own bodies work. And we're not necessarily interested in sharing that with our children. Now, that's education. That's real education. What are the proper foods? Your body works this way. So these are the proper things you need to eat to keep your body going. So, and in terms of parents, they need to check to see if their children can read. Because a lot of people you think can read cannot. And they get passed through, and it's a stigma. So nobody's going to come out as they get to be older to say, I can't read. How many parents are checking or having their children read to them, or them read to their children to make sure that they can read? Especially now that we know 86%, 84% cannot. So it's real important. And another reason why community. And I also wanted to say that we can't equate or mistake a task for the work. The tasks are the things that we do in the work, but the work is ongoing and long lasting. A task may be that we collect books. The work is, we have to get out to parents to help encourage them read to their children and let them know how important it is and why that the schools are not educating them. And we're all complicit, really. These schools are not educating our children, and we're not really saying a word about it. And just pretending like they are. So the work is raising the consciousness. The work is building the environment where we can be our best selves, where we have the knowledge itself. I read this quote. I wanted to read it, and it was George Washington Carver. He said, "No one has the right to come into this world and go out of it without leaving behind distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through." So it's not about, getting a job and making a lot of money. What are your distinct and legitimate reasons for passing through? And for Black people in general, for the most part, I'm generalizing, but for the most part, this system has limited it to entertainment and sport and play. Our job is to entertain people. Our job is to keep the system going at whatever level, in the mail rooms, whatever. That's what we're here for. And those are who are the people that are looked up most, who are looked up to the most in our community. They're the athletes. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying they're the athletes, the entertainers. When they want to have somebody come and represent us in politics, they bring Megan Thee Stallion up on the stage. The other person who speaks out on our behalf, when we have very scholarly people who could be doing that, but they know that these are the people we look up to. We don't look up to the scholars. We could probably hardly name the scholars. I saw this on YouTube or Instagram, one of the two. This brother who's an inventor, right? He was talking to a young girl, and she asked him, "Are you really an inventor?" And he said, "Yeah." And she said, "I thought all the Black inventors were dead."
Yeah, she only learned about them probably in February.
Right.
A few Black inventors
from
a long time ago.
Yeah. So anyhow, we have a job. We have a job cut out for us, and we know this is just a small piece of the work. The real work is in self-development. The real work is wrestling and facing the contradictions that we live every day. That's the real work. The real work is seeking out the truth of things and then submitting to what the answer is to eradicate whatever it is or to achieve whatever it is. That's the real work, you know?
Yeah, and you can't do your self-development by yourself.
No.
So it takes a collective to help you do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about this. I love this flow because you're talking about the real work. And here we have community for action. Like, let's talk about that, because in community for action, we are doing the real work.
Yeah, well, we are, I mean, Community for Action is a celebration. You know, it's a
And a
celebration.
fundraiser.
And a fundraiser, right. But you know, the real work is putting the Community for Action together.
Mhm.
The Community for Action is the celebration and the culmination of all the things we learn as we're going through it and how to make it better next year and how we can be better next year. But it is a real celebration where people come together and support the Pieces Collective and particularly spread the word. And this was our second, and I think it was even better than last year. The people, I think, were connecting more to the idea. We had some speakers Karen can tell you about. I do want to thank Sophia Casey for being our wonderful mistress of ceremonies. No one can do it like her. So we're grateful to have her. And also Janice Stewart, who is, Sophia is also on the board. Janice Stewart, who is on the board of directors and also the curator for our silent auction, which people get more and more excited about every year. I've never, maybe once or twice I've participated in a silent auction, but I've never been excited about them until Janice started doing them. And now I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see next year, you know, what I'm going to bid on. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had some speakers come in to talk to us about their experience with reading. And Karen, you want to share about that?
Sure. So we had two speakers this year. One was the director, one of the directors from St. Vincent de Paul, and she spoke about her experience as a child. She had a problem with reading, and so she really could relate to the issue. She's working on her PhD right now in this area, and she just told her story. It was very heartwarming about how she overcame that and why this was so important to her, and how, you know, she's partnering with the Pieces Collective in order to have the Spread the Word program come in and help the children at her schools. And then the second person was from the school in Jamaica, where they had been shut down since the pandemic. And of course, the school fell into disrepair, so they didn't reopen, and they hadn't had the funds to reopen it. And she took the action with her community in Jamaica to rebuild the school and to reopen the school. And so the school should be open for next year. And she spoke about that endeavor back home in Jamaica and working with us here in the United States to have that library built. So, yeah, it was great. I think both their stories are a bit different, but both well received by our audience.
Yeah, and we had a lot of delicious food by Chef Stretch, Brother Nuri Muhammad. He donates his services to help us have this event every year, and it's always wonderful and beautiful. We have a sister, what is it, Cherie Harvest Wines. It's a Black-owned winery, and they participate. DJ Artiste, we dance to the tunes of DJ Artiste. And so there's dancing and music and a lot of talk and laughter. So it's always a good time. So if you missed it this year, be on the lookout for the announcement for next year's date.
I feel like this, I said, this is the work, doing this Community for Action is the work. We work in the ways, of course, like, yes, we're teaching people to read. We're teaching people to grow their own food. Pieces Collective is teaching people how to care for their bodies. And inside of that, I think our community is really known for, or we really celebrate the celebration that comes inside of those things. Really,
gotta have a celebration.
You have to.
So, Shannon, I just have to give a plug for the Community for Action and ask people to go to our page, because your donations are tax deductible, and it's not too late to donate for 2024 on our page, and you can see our program as well and learn about our speakers and all the people who support that, our partners. So if you go to the Pieces Collective page,
that's why she's the director of operations.
There is still time. There is still time. Go and do that thing. Go and do it, because you can see, if you're watching this, you know that what Pieces Collective is doing is beneficial to our community. We are going to talk a little bit soon about the future visioning in 2025 we are going into. But before that, let's look. So we've talked a lot about the things that we have done, that the Pieces Collective have done, but it is nice to actually see the things that the Pieces Collective has done. So let's take a moment to celebrate in that way.
I feel like I've been charged with making a difference. I believe God blesses us to be blessing to others. So if I was given this blessing and being able to do this for my family and help people in my community, why not? Why not continue it? Why not do more? I always believe if you can do more, do more. You know, if we have it in us, just do it, because we can't wait for anyone else to help us. And when I say us, I'm saying community, you know, your neighborhoods, people, especially who look like us. Why not do more to help us? Because we're behind the eight ball with everything. You know, it's financing, housing, even the food deserts and stuff. So it's like it's up to us to kind of make that difference. And I feel like if I'm being blessed to be able to do it and help my family and my community, I'm gonna keep doing it. And we all just need to help each other do it together.
Typically
Collectively.
focused on like only Black and brown students on our program. Um, Everyone's invited. Disclaimer, okay. Um, but that being said, taking those talents and then being able to like have them tell their stories, some really heart wrenching stories, some really like joyful stories, and then putting those together in honor of W.B. Du Bois's Browning books, which I don't know if any of you are familiar, but it was a digest that children would write, that Black children in the 1920s and 30s, they would write in and tell like different things that they were going through, things that they were doing in school. It was like lyrics for like games, songs and games and stuff like that. And it was all just a celebration of Black youth. So in my eyes, I was like, all right, well, how can we use this to amplify the voices and stories of the students that we have? And with that, not only did we do like like the typical like music project that we always do, but then we also made it a double disc, which is a first that I've ever heard of. And then with that, I was doing workshops with incarcerated youth in the Bronx and was able to record their stories. So that way, like we were incorporating everyone in the community. Because one thing that I've always believed in, since undergrad was pretty much there's no such thing as freedom if we're not.
Amazing. We've done so many things. We've had so many
Mm-hmm.
amazing speakers, and it's exciting to hear what is coming next. Is what it's exciting to hear.
Yeah, what's coming next is always exciting.
Yeah.
I know I read this quote that said, the best way to predict the future is to create it together. And so one of the things that we'll be doing is implementing our internship and volunteer program. You know, this work is massive. It's a lot. Historically, you can possibly see how people can burn out because it's only one or two or three people doing these things. So we want to give other people the opportunity to learn and self-improve as well, and also to share their talents and their skills with us. So we'll be working with different colleges in the area to recruit volunteers and interns so that we can expand our programs. So that's one of the things that we have planned for 2025. As far as spread as the word's concerned, Kay, you want to speak on that?
Sure. Of course, we can plan to continue our efforts with Spread the Word and have more events. St. Vincent de Paul has 500 pre-K and kindergarten students, and we would love to get home libraries for every single one of them. We had gotten funding through our fundraising and event for 150 libraries. I haven't finished the accounting for the event that took place just last month to see how many more libraries we can get to. But our goal for that school is to get to 500 and then to expand from there. And as Akama was saying earlier, it's not just about the task of giving the books, but to get more engagement from the community and to expand to other programs, other schools and other programs. So there'll be a lot of focus for Spread the Word in 2025.
And then we will also we're also planning Juneteenth again this year. So be on the lookout for that. Our newsletter will come out. So those of you who subscribe will get the newsletter with that information. If you don't subscribe, subscribe now, and then you'll get that in the future. Another thing we'll be doing is updating our website. One of our main missions is to support makers. And so we want to have different makers on our site so that when you feel the need for that retail therapy, you'll consider us. When you feel the need for being generous and giving and gifting, you'll think of us. And when you feel the need that you want to treat yourself, you'll think of us. And you'll know that your purchase not only will get you a beautifully handmade, handcrafted item made with love, but it will also help contribute to the programs that we do, because that's how we one of our main ways of raising money. And that being said, I'm going to start Spread the Word books. And so that will be on the Pieces Collective website under Pieces and Threads. And so I'm looking forward to that and all that will bring about. Maybe some book clubs and etc.
All of that self-development it's gonna take
Exactly.
to create all these new things.
Mm-hmm. And I want to focus, like the Spread the Word books, I want to focus on, self-development, history, etc. But definitely books that will be inspirational and insightful for our community and to raise our consciousness and help develop new environments. Self-development is the basis for community development.
Right.
Self-improvement.
So I want to add that in addition to expanding with makers, we're also expanding our partnerships with different organizations. And one of our new organizations that we're expanding to is called Melanin and Mentorship. And so we will be partnering with Melanin and Mentorship wherever we have synergy to help support the community.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then finally, Community for Action will be coming up again next year.
Yes.
So we're going to give you the opportunity to get your tickets early. Be on the lookout.
Because people know I just wanted to say that Sophia Casey is here with us, has been just loving on the both of you. Jacqueline Titus also loving on Pieces Collective. Thank you so much for joining us, friends. Yes, we have done so much. Pieces Collective has done so much as far as giving wisdom, wellness, and wealth, really sticking to spreading those values and inviting people in to what you do, making sure that we know, our community knows, that the things that we do, from very small to very big, from buying land to making collages, really both of those things and everything in between truly has a space and can create community, bring us together, and create wisdom, wellness, and wealth in our lives and our families, our communities, and everything that we do. So thank you very, very much, Karen Freeman, and thank you so very much, Ikrama Mohammed, for being here, for being the glue, for being the leaders that you are in our community, and providing a platform, providing a space for us to do the things that we need to do to move forward in our lives.
Well, thank you. And thank all of you for listening. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Sophia, and everybody else who's listening. And we look forward to doing more next year.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Peace.